Okay, so I know that we all want to just get started with coding, but I'm going to tell you take 10 minutes here and start with game design. First thing, give your game a name. I'm going to, for this example game, call it EcoQuest, tiny actions and big changes. You can, any of these things, you can always change later, but start with the name. Because we're big on making educational games here at 7th Generation Games, start with your educational objectives. What do you want the players to learn? These, again, don't have to be elaborate. This game is going to be teaching about plastic pollution in the ocean. My objective is that players will learn about the causes and consequences of plastic pollution, key topics, the life cycle of plastic, impact on marine life, and the importance of recycling and reducing plastic use. Again, your game design doesn't need to be really elaborate. And this is the whole game. There's going to be a visual novel format that's an introduction that's teaching players about the impact of plastic on marine life. There's going to be a menu screen where players can choose one of 3 choices. And those 3 choices are a game to catch recyclable objects in the ocean, a runner game where an octopus jumps over plastic on the ocean floor, and some kind of assessment where players sort actions into 3 categories, either recycle, reuse, or reduce. That's it. That's my game design. Next, and I'll show you this in a second, you're going to actually create your game structure using 7Gen blocks. So you're going to just make a new folder for your game and give it a name, and then you're going to copy the blocks needed into the folder. How do you know what blocks are needed? Well, there's that game design you just talked about. So you're going to have a splash screen. Every game starts with a splash screen, right? Then this visual novel that's teaching about plastic pollution. Then the menu and the 3 choices on the menu. So you're going to need a splash block, visual novel block, menu block, and then these 3 blocks. And the assessment I'm using is the drag into categories. And then an end game. You need something to designate that the game is over. Also, while you're at it, make sure that you copy the game theme folder. The game theme includes theme.css style sheet, and that defines the borders and colors for your game, and an icons folder that has a set of icons, stuff like this. We'll have more about that in a later video where you can always swap out the themes for different colors, different border styles, different icons, but for now, let's just go with the default. Now, decide on a style. You can have an anime style, you can have a photorealistic style, you can have an 8-bit style, whatever you want. But I think it should be consistent throughout your game. Then select some characters. You can use characters that are provided in the images folder. You can create some characters yourself with AI. You can download characters from services like Dreamstime or FreePic, or you can even create some yourself. If you have a lot of money, you can pay an artist. But however, again, this doesn't need to be fancy. In the Glorious Weekend game, the character is a lost axolotl toy. Next, select your backgrounds. Again, you have all the same choices as far as using what's provided, AI, purchasing, and so on. And that's it. You're ready to get started. Important points. You don't need all of your artwork and game narrative to get started. Just some of it so you can start coding and have the actual assets to create the game with. You don't even need all of your blocks. You can start with some blocks and then decide later that you've changed your mind and you can add more blocks, you can delete blocks. You can have more than one of the same kind of block. If you wanted to have 3 visual novels, knock yourself out. And that's it. Once you have done that, you are ready to start making your game. And first, let's start your project. So now we're going to create our first game. I am using a Mac here, but it's going to be very similar in Windows. I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it EcoQuest. It's going to be this game. So I went it over here, and right now it's empty, right? I have my 7Gen blocks that I had downloaded from before. You're always going to want the base, so just copy that, paste it in here. The assets, you don't necessarily need those, so let's worry about those later. You're always going to need an index page. That's going to be your splash screen. And then, what blocks do I want? I'm going to copy over the whole blocks folder. and I'm going to delete, then I'll just delete out the ones I'm not using. Drag into categories, I'm going to use that for the assessment. In game, I need that. Game theme, remember I need that. Level up, there is no level up, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Matching terms, also no matching terms, so I'm going to get rid of that. So now I have all of the blocks I need to start my game. Highly, highly, highly recommend that you have some kind of integrated development environment. In my case, I use WebStorms. You can use Visual Studio Code. A lot of people like that. And so I am just going to open up WebStorms. This is a different project. This is the one I want. I'm going to pick new project. And my new project is over here, EcoQuest. So click on that, click open, create. And here we go. There is my game all ready to start development. And as I said, whether you use WebStorm, whether you use Visual Studio Code, it's going to look very, very similar to this. And in the next video, we will start on actually coding your first block.